Coming up next on The Mayor Show, we'll take you on a tour of some homes that have been officially designated as historic resources by the Burbank City Council. And we'll meet one of the members of the Burbank's Heritage Commission who will explain what the commission does and how a property qualifies as a historic resource. Come on, let's go and see The Mayor Show. This is 902 East Olive, known as the Rock House, one of the most famous houses in the city of Burbank. And right next door to it, the two-story house, is 906 East Olive. 902 East Olive was the first house designated as an historic resource, and it's a special treat that we can come here today and talk to the owners of this house and find out more about why they bought it and how they restored it. Hey, Greg Rehner, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
So good to see you. And Kurt Solomon, great to see you.
Hello. Good afternoon.
We're going to spend some time talking to you about the Rock House this afternoon.
Excellent. Perfect. This is a 1922 year-built Craftsman. It's made with all river rock. This is actually rock that came from the Tujunga Wash, a little bit north of here. Some Italian stone masons were actually brought here to work on the house. The walls are actually solid stone. So it's not a veneer. And as you can see, as it tapers towards the foundation, the walls angle out. So it makes for a very strong foundation. The roof tile is the original roof tile from 1922. So other than a little caulking here and there, it's in great shape.
This is so interesting because it looks like there's a porte-cochere here, which is we see in a lot of Burbank homes, but certainly in a house that's made out of stone, it's absolutely rare thing. I would imagine this is the only one in Burbank that's made out of stone.
Yeah, it's pretty unique that you actually see the keystone on the archway and when it was built and how they pieced it all together rock by rock. The original builder was O.C. Lane, who was actually one of the original business founders in Burbank. He had the first Ford dealership, and Sam and Marie Ross owned it from 1968 until 2004 when we purchased it from them.
We weren't looking at it as a museum piece, but we definitely were interested in homes that still had its original character and detail.
Well, let's go inside and take a look at some of the features that are inside the house.
Excellent. Ready?
It's just a stunning house inside. And before we talk about that, I wanted to ask you about one of the stories I heard about this house, and that is because Mr. Lane was an auto dealer, I guess, that Henry Ford himself stayed at this house.
That's right, he did. We were lucky enough and fortunate enough to meet one of the granddaughters of Orlando Lane, and she told us that because her grandfather owned the first franchise, the first Ford agency, back then Henry Ford actually would travel around the country to inspect these franchises. And he came to Burbank, stayed overnight with the Lanes, actually had dinner here in the dining room with them, and actually stayed in the front room, which had a convertible Murphy bed in it originally. She said he slept there and then stayed overnight. They woke up the next morning and he was gone. Wow. Didn't even say goodbye. But you know, back then the roads over the Cahuenga Pass took a long time to travel because they were all dirt roads. And so in order to go over the pass and into Hollywood, you really had to plan that out because you knew it was going to be, you know, a real adventure getting over there. So that's why he actually stayed the night here and then left the next morning.
Well, we are in the living room. It is absolutely beautiful. The fireplace, is that an original fireplace?
All the stonework is original. The mantle and the built-in bookcases we actually adapted from our neighbors who actually have, again, the original bookcase and mantle. And in this house, what we ended up doing was sort of interpreting it a bit specifically for the house. We don't have any pictures of the original mantle or the built-ins, so we sort of fashioned it after the millwork you see in the house. The detail above the doorways is basically the same detail you see on the mantle. The window pattern above the living room window is the same pattern or similar pattern that you see in the glass doors on the bookshelves. One of the other unique features of the house, I don't know if you can pick this up,
right,
is actually the built-in screen. So all of the millwork around the windows, you open this up and you pull the screen down, and then it latches at the bottom. And so there's a nice little latch here, and this is the screen, and the windows all have screens. So they roll up into a housing that's in the head of the window. And I don't know if you can pick this up with that camera or not, but a lot of the glass you'll see through the house is the original glass. It's in the old glass. It's all kind of wavy. It's the old glass, and we try to maintain that as well. So we don't put in new glass.
If the camera can capture this, but these are push buttons for the lights. So can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so originally, all the homes had different, push buttons, which are basically how they turn lights on and off. And in this particular case, we've got the exterior plus the dining room.
Let's hear about the kitchen. I understand there's a story behind the kitchen. It's color, it's floors.
We started the renovation a couple years ago. It's been finished for now about 3 years, I think. And when we were doing some work in the garage, we came across a couple pieces of material that we thought would be interesting to reuse. One was an actual yellow piece of trim that we use to basically is the basis for the kitchen cabinets, the color of the kitchen cabinets today. And we know that Mrs. Lane liked the color yellow. Everything was yellow. Her dishes were yellow, cups were yellow, everything was yellow. The floor in the kitchen was yellow. All the cabinets were yellow. So we sort of used that as the basis for the cabinets. The light fixture that's in the breakfast nook here, we found that in the attic, a garage attic as well. It was full of cobwebs. It was all rusted, and when we pulled it out and it telescoped down, we realized it was a light fixture. So we've had it replated, rewired, and we hung it in the breakfast nook. Sort of feel it's a good location for that. The floor is actually in this part of where the breakfast nook is actually the original wood floor. And then we worked with our floor guy, and he actually was able to buy similar red oak, so we could stain it to match the other floor. And that floor was, so we extended the wood floor throughout the kitchen.
This is only half the story, though. I mean, the other half of the story is when you wanted to see about designating this house as a historic resource. What was that like, and what had the city been doing up until then, and what was your role in effectuating a lot of positive change?
We always felt that this house was a very special house, even before we owned it. And I think everybody recognizes the Rock House. Everybody knows this is the Rock House. So we felt that it was important to be able to preserve that for the city. And that's when we went to the city and actually found out that no other homes had been designated yet, and that the city did have a process in place, but it was cumbersome and almost prohibitive to go through. So after we went through this process, we were able to streamline the process, working with the city staff. And now you can apply for landmark status, and it's the whole process is a lot easier. It's a very simple one-page application, and the city staff is always very helpful in getting you through the process. So we're really happy that we went ahead and pushed through this, so that it's going to make it a lot easier for everyone else to be able to landmark their homes. And the great thing about landmarking in Burbank is that you're only asked to landmark what can be seen from the street. Burbank has been very cooperative, and the city staff and the city council has been very supportive of making the process easier, so that more people will want to join in the landmarking process and preserving the look and the historic look and feel of the city. Once we started going through the process, we realized that we could landmark our homes, but what about other people in the community? What about other residents? And that's when we started to think, well, residents should be able to not only landmark their homes, but they should be able to preserve the look and feel of their neighborhood. And so that's when we started in on trying to figure out how we could come up with a process for historic districts. And I started reaching out as a grassroots process to everyone that I could think of in Burbank, and we filed a petition with the city to start a process for historic districts. And again, Amanda Landry was very helpful with that process, as was Michael Forbes and Joy Forbes. And we were able to eventually, within probably about 2 years, come up with 400 residents or 400 homes of people who were sincerely interested in a preservation process like this. And that's what eventually became what is known as Preserve Burbank today. And so we have 400 members, over 400 members, and the number is still growing in Preserve Burbank.
I think, you know, much like the Rosses, we just feel like we're the next stewards of the property. You know, we might own it, but we're just the next stewards to take it to the next level. So I think our approach, and I think other people's approach to their properties, isn't so much of my kingdom is my castle, but it's, you know, how do you preserve it and how do you move it into the next generation. So I think people come at it from a couple of different approaches.
Well, I think on that word of stewardship, that's a wonderful way to end the interview today. I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being part of this movement here in Burbank and restoring the Rock House and helping pave the way for others, pave the way, so to speak, set the stage for others to come forward. We're going to be visiting other homes today and other property owners who have followed in your footsteps, and I look forward to talking with them as well about what it means for them. Thanks, Greg, very much.
You're welcome. Thanks,
and
Mayor.
Kurt.
Okay.
Thank you. We're standing in front of 834 East Magnolia. It's the home of Marlene and Kent Burton. Come on and join me as we take a walk to this house and find out more about this 104-year-old farmhouse here in Burbank. Good morning, Kent.
Very nice to meet you.
Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning.
It's fabulous to be here this morning. Kent, there's something very unusual about the facade of this house, and I wondered if you'd share with our community what that is.
Well, I think that if you notice the front of the house, the front door and the door above it, near what's called the Widow's Walk, that balcony there, is kind of 6 or 8 inches off of sink, and there are differences between the windows. It's not like a professionally built house by a general contractor. I suspect most of the work was done by the original owners when they built it in 1910.
Do you have any idea who actually built the house? Do you think it was a barn raising with neighbors, or?
I kind of think that must have been somewhat the case, because this at the time was like the farmhouse for an orchard. This used to be an avocado and citrus raising area, I believe. And the people that built the house came from the Midwest, I think from Kansas or Missouri, as I recall. And I think it was kind of a community home-built effort. They had a very large family, too.
I wanted to ask you a question first about the porch out here. Was this part of the reason that you bought this house, and how do you use this porch?
It was one of my reasons. I always wanted a big porch, and we sit out on this porch daily. We're always out here. We enjoy it. We talk to the neighbors that walk by. They bring their dogs by. We have a dog, and they play, and we just like to visit. The traffic gets a little annoying at times, but we use our porch every single day.
The other interesting thing about this house is it was probably one of the oldest, and it may be, I think you said, one of the oldest homes in Burbank that has been continuously occupied. And I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about how many owners there have been on this house, your family that you raised here in this house, and especially how you shared that one shower.
Well, yeah, I believe we're the 4th owners of this house. Originally, we were told we were the 3rd, but we found way back in the history, the original people, there were actually 4 different owners. The previous owners to us, I believe they had 4 or 5 boys in the family, and we had 3, so we had to share a lot of things, but ours, it worked out for us well, and I assume they did. They did have, when you go inside, it's compartmentalized. They even had some doors between the living room and the den that they closed, because I think they used to have meetings and stuff in there, and they'd close it off. But as we understand it, at one time it was 2 dwellings. There was an upstairs. There is plumbing up there for a tiny little kitchen area, and then of course there's the bathroom and the bedrooms.
It was like subdivided during the Depression. Yeah. So they could rent part of the space out to make income.
I wondered if either of you would like to say a few words about the features of this house, what it's made out of, which is not necessarily a common building material anymore, and some of the rafter features and the windows.
I believe the structural wood in the house is redwood. The exterior slat board is redwood. We haven't had any termites visit us, so I assume that's probably true.
We painted it about 7 years ago, and when we bought it, it was all white. The whole house was white, and he scratched off some of the white, and what we found was the gray underneath. So we took it back to the gray with the white trim, and that's how we believe it looked when it was built.
You know, there are a lot of beautiful things out here, but I think the real piece de resistance is going inside the house. And I wondered if you'd both share with us some of the interior of your house.
Sure.
Certainly,
absolutely.
that would be our pleasure.
Wow, look at this. Is this considered the parlor or the living room? It looks like you've even restored the furniture for this interior.
Actually, most of the furniture belonged to our parents at one time or another. Most of it, almost all of it, except maybe the lamps we bought. But this, we consider it the living room, but I'm sure they used to call it the parlor. And as I was saying, they used to have, the people before us had some shutter doors here between the 2 rooms so they could close them off. I don't know why. We wanted to open it up a little bit because it gets a little cramped in here. But we just, that was always the way it was. The only thing that we did, when we moved in, all of the windows were original rope-hung windows, and they were very wavy. It was very hard to see out of them, and we needed to, it was not air-conditioned at all, and we needed to have that. It got so hot upstairs. So we had them replaced and continued the same style of window. We didn't change what they looked like. They just are newer windows, and they're double paned, so to try to keep some of the cool in and the heat in during the different seasons. But yeah, it had all of the original rope-hung windows, which are a little scary when you use them. You never know if they're going to fall.
You showed me some fascinating research that you have done, and I wondered if you would share some of that information with us also. Maybe we can go into the
let's go in and look at the book.
Into the dining room, which we don't see too much of anymore. A real formal dining room.
This is our book of some of the old pictures of the property before this house was even built. Kent knows a little bit more about what it was.
This is the creek that comes out of Stow Canyon. This is called the Forsyth Chicken Farm, and I believe that this picture was taken in 1904, before this home was built.
And then this one actually is from the Heritage Museum down on Historical Society. I'm sorry, down on Olive Avenue, and you can see it circled there. That's where our house is, and what it looked like when it was first put in. Apparently,
I believe it.
You can see this picture very well, but this is the original family or people that lived in this house. There's an awful lot of them. But it's just a black and white, but you have an idea of how many people were in this house. So it looks like, I don't know, 25, 30 people. Yeah.
Big Christmas dinner.
I think you need a big porch for that kind of crowd.
Yeah.
We're now in the kitchen, and this is an amazing restoration job. Kent, do you want to tell us a little bit about what inspired you to do this? It looks like we're back in 1910.
Well, I just wanted to make it as close to the original as I could. I doubt that it had the tin ceiling. I just liked that. And I found a company in Kansas that had the original dies from the 1890s, so we bought that. And the glass cupboards were something I liked because that's in the keeping with the style, and the subway tile. So, and I bought this old stove here as kind of additional space, and that butcher block table. It's just like a center board thing.
So, Marlene, are you cooking on this stove at all? Are you sure, Kent? Are you?
He wanted me to do that. I said, this is not going to happen.
It's a wood-burning
So
stove.
it's a wood-burning stove, but we use it as a counter. I can take things out of the oven and set it on there and don't have to worry about it burning anything.
It was originally kind of a crabapple green color.
Yeah.
And it was porcelain enamel, but she didn't like the color, so
I wanted it to go with the rest of the kitchen.
Well, it's a really nice job. The other thing I notice is that you have shelves along the top, and I think that was a period improvement too, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is. We like, as you can tell, we like
Stuff.
doodads, or what would you call them? Bric-a-brac.
Well, Kent and Marlene, I want to thank you both so much for spending some time with me this morning and sharing your house with the Burbank community.
Well, you're very welcome. We were happy to have you.
You may be wondering what we mean when we use the terms historic resource or historic designation, and I know just the person to ask about that. Oh, there she is now. Want to introduce you to our Burbank viewers today. This is Marisa Di Dimenico, and she is the chair of the Burbank Heritage Commission. What is an historic designation, and how does that process work?
Oh, absolutely. Well, historic designation is, I think the best part of it is that it is generated from property owners. So the advantage is that property owners can come to the city and they can request an application in order to let their home be designated as a historic resource. And once that application is filed, it comes before the Heritage Commission, which is a body of 5 people. We're appointed by the City Council, and we go through the information, kind of verify what city staff has put together. Sometimes we do tours, most often we know the homes, which is great, and then we advise to the City Council, so we make a recommendation to the City Council that they consider the home to be designated. So then we go back to the ownership and we invite them to the City Council meeting, and once it's designated, they pay a small fee for the permit and to have that property recorded, and that's it. So the whole process, I think the whole process can take as little as 6 months to get everything applied and get everything, the research done, and have the City Council approve the home.
Well, this is so wonderful. I understand you're going to take me on a little special tour today.
Yes, that's right. We'll go up to what we call Ben Mar and that area of Burbank, and the street Bel Aire and that neighborhood, because there's so many great homes up there that reflect what we call the high style of Burbank. And that reflects, I think, types of people who work in the city in 1910, 1920 era. So doctors and lawyers. It wasn't the most expensive homes in Burbank at the time, but certainly interesting and well kept. So I'm excited to show you.
I think we're going to really love this trip. So why don't we get started?
That sounds great.
I've always wondered about what high style means. I've heard that term used before, and it doesn't make sense to me. And I wondered if you could explain a little more simply what that means.
Well, it designates a certain time and also structural details. So I think off the top of my head, I'd say it could be a 1 to 2 story home. It's some of the styles are the Colonial Revival, Spanish Revival. Generally, the homes are set above the street, so they're kind of they have that illusion of walking up to it. They almost all have centered walkways and stairs that lead up to the front door. The garages are almost always detached. So it's just a way to designate a style that was predominant in, I'd say, again, 1910 to 1920, thereabout. But it does encompass a lot of different types of homes.
All right, well, we're just entering on Bel Aire, which to me at this point is an absolutely stunning street. And I understand that one of the homes we're going to visit has photographs of these palm trees when they were about 5 feet high.
Oh, for goodness sakes, that's great.
Now, what about this house on the left here? I'd say it's Greek classical revival, but I wouldn't know for sure.
Right, right. Again, part of the high style, and I would lean towards colonial as well, with some influence of Greek with those columns.
It has many of the elements that you were talking about, though. You know, it's raised, it's set back, the entrance is symmetrical. The facade of the house itself is very symmetrical, all the way up to the dormers on top.
Correct.
So, but this next one is a different style of architecture, but it's raised and it has a central stairway leading up to the front doors. So, if those are the features of high style, then I think it's very helpful to have you point out these real examples.
Absolutely.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, Marisa, was how has interest grown in seeking historic designations?
It's been growing exponentially. I think that's great. The first year we had one person that would show interest in the home, and since then it's just grown each year. It's been exponential, so we're very excited. We like getting out in the community and sharing information.
And if somebody did want to get in touch with you or the staff, where do they go to find out more about having their house considered for designation as a historic resource?
I think the easiest thing is to go onto the Burbank City website, and in the search box, I just type in historic designation and all the information comes up. We do have a Facebook page as well, and hopefully you'll see us around town, because we like to go to the community events so that we can spread the word. And on occasion you'll see us walking around the neighborhoods, just knocking on people's doors and leaving information in case they're interested in learning more about what they can do to designate their homes.
That's great to know. Are you at the farmers market, for example?
Yes, exactly. We are at the farmers market, for example. In fact, May is Preservation Month, so we're getting very excited with new outreach, and we'll be celebrating preservation all throughout the month of May.
Well, you're clearly very passionate about what you're doing, and that is the kind of thing that changes whole cities.
Yeah, one person at a time, right?
So I just want to thank you so much for your time.
Oh, such a pleasure. Thank you, Mayor. Bye.
Bye-bye. I'm standing in front of 922 North Bel Aire, a Colonial Revival house that was built in 1941 and is now owned by Linh and Anne Lay. Please join me as we go and interview the Lays and talk about what attracted them to this beautiful house on Bel Aire. Good morning, Linh.
Good morning, Mayor. Nice to see you. Thank you. Welcome, welcome.
Anne, good morning. Thank you for inviting us into your house.
Thank you for coming. We're happy to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely. Please come in.
Thank you so much. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, what attracted you to this property?
Oh, we lived in Burbank for over 40 years, and every day from work, I came home and I've always passed by Walnut and goes, what a beautiful, magnificent house. And we just got to do all we can to make sure we buy this house when the chance comes. We love the old type of house, the Colonial Revival types of house, and this house definitely is very attractive to us as we've seen the properties. We lived here for years, and it's just a wonderful and lovely house.
This house was done by a very famous architect, and I wondered if you would share a little bit more about who he was and the other kinds of houses that he's known for having constructed.
Okay, his name was Summer Spalding, and he was the architect for the Avalon Casino on Catalina Island, participated in designing the LA City Hall and the Union Station, and he did a lot of other famous houses in LA.
I think he did the Harold Lloyd House. That was something.
He did.
So he really was a part of early LA history, wasn't he? Well, there's an interesting story about the original occupant of this house as well, and I wondered if either of you could share with me who was she and why was she so amazing in her lifetime?
Sure. This house was built originally by Mr. and Mrs. Robert Hiller, and Mrs. Hiller was a civil servant through and through. I mean, she's done a lot of work for the state of California as well as the city of Burbank. And as you know, she was the first Burbank commissioner back in the 50s. And so she's also done so much for the city and for the state. And, you know, part of the reason is we also want to make sure we keep her house here for the rest of Burbanks to enjoy, because we feel that she's done an amazing job with all of her accomplishment. We want to make sure that stays here as long as possible.
Basically, we want to preserve it in its original state because of the architect and Mrs. Hiller. So we just want to keep it. We don't want any changes, and we just love the architects.
Well, these were left to us when we bought the house by the previous owner, and we have some really nice photos of the house back in the 40s. And one of the pictures that really continues to amaze me are the palm trees. These were about, let's say, 3 to 4 feet, but now you can see they're soaring at over 50 feet high, and so definitely a lot of characteristics with the way Burbank's back in the 40s. You can see the house, the original house, how it was laid out, and it was white back then, but you can see there's no oak tree in front, as we have a huge oak tree now in the front.
Tell me about this special feature in the back of your house. I see it behind me.
It's this vine right here. I had never seen something this gorgeous, and it just grows across the house. I think it was trained to grow vertically or horizontally across the house, and the flowers are huge. They're probably 6 feet or 6 inches wide, and they're just beautiful.
They are really beautiful. I know you were calling them a trumpet vine. I think they're Salandra gutata. Okay. So I'll write that down for you, and we'll both check it to see.
I didn't know the name of it. We just call it trumpet vine.
But as you can see from the stalk, it is a really old vine, and it's in beautiful condition. So I'm going to attribute that to your gardening skills or your skills in hiring someone who knows how to take care of it.
We have a lot of help with that.
Right.
Lynn, this is a beautiful floor, and I'm sure be the envy of many homes in Burbank. It looks like it's an original floor. Would you like to tell us a little more about it?
I love the floor, Mayor. I think it's original tongue and groove. It cracks, you know, as you walk through the house, and I really like that old world charm where, you know, it's just really I adore it. Yeah.
And you've kept it in absolutely stunning condition. So I don't know whether you've resurfaced it or just let it be natural and clean it, but it is in stunning condition.
We haven't done any restoration to it. This is the way that it was when we purchased it. We do a lot of cleaning, of course, with 3 boys, but that's about it.
Well, Lynn, Anne, I wanted to thank you so much for sharing your love of historic preservation and neighborhood, and also sharing your house with us this morning. It's really been a pleasure.
It's certainly our pleasure, Mayor, and thank you so much for visiting us today.
Thank you for coming.
I hope you had a great time today learning about Burbank and its history, and the kind of men and women who live here who put all their heart and soul into preserving that history. If you want further information about Burbank historic preservation, please go to our Burbank website, burbankca.gov. This is Mayor Emily Gabel-Luddy saying thank you for joining me.